John Matuszak was an NFL football player who helped take the Oakland Raiders to 2 Super Bowls before being sidelined due to multiple injuries. But did this behemoth giant also portray Sloth in the well-loved movie, The Goonies? In this episode of Celebrity Afterlife, we remember the life of the Tooonz, John Matuszak, and help to keep his memory alive. John Matuszak's arrival on October 25, 1950, was fraught with both excitement and fear. His parents, Audrey and Marvin Matuszak, had 2 other sons and a daughter born with cystic fibrosis, who would all pass away by the time John was 12 years old. The family, who resided in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, would move to the small community of Oak Creek when John was in his early teens, but the move would be hard on him. At first, John was teased by his classmates who made fun of his tall and thin build. This would prompt him to lift weights and become more physically active. His motivation paid off as he developed into a muscular teen, going on to become the Wisconsin Class A state champion in the shot put, with a throw of 58 feet 11 inches. From there, he served as a defensive lineman for the Oak Creek High School football team, where he excelled. During his freshman year at Fort Dodge Junior College in Iowa, Matuszak was recruited by the University of Missouri by Dan Devine. He spent his sophomore year at Missouri, where he played 1 season for the Tigers as a tight end. Unfortunately, he didn't see much playing time because the starting tight end was an excellent blocker. Devine left Missouri, going on to recruit for the Green Bay Packers that same year, leaving Matuszak no longer on the team, causing his scholarship to be revoked by new coach Al Onofrio. Matuszak then transferred to the University of Tampa, where he returned to his natural position on the defensive line, moving quickly to become the defensive star of the Tampa Spartans football team where he excelled. He was selected to serve on the All-American team in 1972 and became a member of the Sigma Epsilon fraternity. Matuszak played his last college football game for Tampa, defeating Kent State 21-18 in the Tangerine Bowl, against standout players Jack Lambert and Gary Pinkel, both future Hall of Famers, going on to coach Missouri from 2001 to 2015. Future 7-time national championship coach Nick Saban would suffer a season-ending injury in December. Kent State's coach Don James would go on to win the 1991 national championship at Washington. Standing at 6'8", Matuszak made his way into professional football as the first pick of the 1973 NFL draft, where he was picked up by the Houston Oilers. But he often butted heads with head coach Sid Gilman. Still under contract with the Oilers, Matuszak joined the Houston Texans of the World Football League, the WFL, where he played 7 games. This didn't go over well with the Oilers, and they served him with a restraining order on the field for being under contract for 2 teams at the same time. The Oilers, who were angry about Matuszak's actions, traded him to the Kansas City Chiefs for Curly Culp. Culp was another player who had threatened to make the jump to the WFL, was a first-round draft choice in 1975. The trade proved successful for the Oilers as Culp became a Hall of Fame player, after being moved by coach Bum Phillips to nose tackle in the 3-4 defense in 1975. 1976 saw Matuszak traded to the Washington Redskins, but he was released from his contract shortly after. Now a free agent, he would sign on with the Raiders later that same year. Matuszak was a favorite player, helping them to win 2 Super Bowls, before retiring after he spent the whole of the 1982 season on the injured reserve list. Offensive guard John Harner, selected 4th by the New England Patriots, was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1991, his first year of eligibility, following a 13-year career. While quarterback Burt Jones, Baltimore Colts, offensive tackle Jerry Sizemore, tight end Charlie Young, Philadelphia Eagles, and defensive tackle Dave Butts, St. Louis Cardinals, were all prominent throughout the rest of the 1970s and into the 1980s. 1978 saw Matuszak competing in and winning the world's strongest man competition, weighing in at a solid 308 pounds and earning 9th place respectively. By the late 1970s, Matuszak was feeling the effects that years of playing football had on his body, and decided to switch to something less stressful. Starting in 1978, he would make appearances on both television and in movies where he portrayed football players or gentle giants. He had numerous guest appearances in TV shows, such as Perfect Strangers, MASH, The Dukes of Hazzard, Hunter, Silver Spoons, The A-Team, First and 10, Hollywood Beat and Miami Vice. His first big part was in the 1979 film North Dallas 40, where he played, you guessed it, a football player. The movie was based on an autobiographical novel written by former Dallas Cowboys receiver Pete Grant. Gent didn't hold back in his book where the title referred to the Cowboys' practice field in North Dallas, where black players were forbidden from living near in 1964. Gent wanted to bring attention to the disciplinarian practices enacted by the coaches at the time. The National Football League wanted nothing to do with the production of the movie, which dealt with dark undertones that players were subject to. Matuszak's role in the film allowed him to act among legends Nick Nolte, Mac Davis and Bo Svensson of Walking Tall fame. Matuszak also starred in 1981's hit movie Caveman, where he portrayed the big and dumb character Tonda, alongside actress Barbara Bach and husband, former Beatle Ringo Starr. You can also spot him in other movies during the early 80s, such as Ice Pirates, One Man Force and One Crazy Summer. But it's his role as the hideous yet lovable Sloth in the cult classic hit, The Goonies in 1985, that most people were introduced to him. Although his character in the movie would be well known, his role is to this day unknown to many. The process he underwent to become the deformed Sloth took 5 hours sitting in the makeup chair to create. The lopsided eye that was out of place on his face was actually controlled by a crew member off stage. John had to be sure he was timing his blinks with that of the robotic eye, so the crew member would have to count down from 3 and tell him when to blink. The makeup he wore was also extremely fragile, and Matuszak had to take great care to not allow it to get wet. Inadvertently, the kids in the movie splashed him with water, which caused filming to be delayed for a whole day. As an aside for Goonies fans, in the scene where Chunk and Sloth go through the gate as they're following the gang and the Rotten Fratellis, John is paying homage to his time with Oakland by wearing a Raiders t-shirt. Matuszak would also appear in Jim Henson's Muppet Magazine, issue number 5, where he was voted the second Great Muppet Look-alike Contest winner with the character Animal. Sadly, just 4 years after starring in the Goonies, Matuszak would pass away, contributed to by a lifestyle that he acknowledged in his autobiography, Cruising with the Tooonz. Written by Steve Delson and published in 1987. He admitted that during his football career he had used and abused both alcohol and various drugs, While he loved the sport, it came with a price. His first injury, a shoulder separation while at the University of Missouri, would be followed by multiple back injuries that eventually led to surgery in the early 80s. His pain became so severe that he was forced to be put on the reserve list, leading to his eventual retirement from football in 1983. And as so often happens with people suffering from chronic pain, Matuszak resulted to self-medicating, an addiction to illegal drugs and prescription medications in an attempt to relieve his pain. As detailed in his autobiography, Matuszak admitted that he had made an effort to get clean, and succeeded at one point. "I abstain from cocaine and any other foreign substance entirely now," he wrote. "I take nothing, not even sleeping pills. I've hit damn near bottom. I don't ever want to go back." Before his passing, Matuszak was dating actress Stephanie Cuthbert-Burton, who would go on to date and eventually marry Reading Rainbow and Star Trek actor LeVar Burton, with whom she shares a daughter. Cuthbert-Burton told the LA Times in 1989 that in addition to using drugs for his chronic pain, he also used it as a means to cope with his grief on losing his siblings at such a young age. He was a therapist's dream. Matuszak died on June 17, 1989, as a result of acute propoxyphene intoxication, an accidental overdose of the prescription drug Darvocet, according to the findings of the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office. He was 38 years old. The report also said that hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, an enlarged heart, and bronchopneumonia had been contributing factors in his death. There were also traces of cocaine found in his bloodstream. He was laid to rest in Holy Sepulchre Cemetery in Cudahy, Wisconsin. Plot section 14. His parents, Marv and Audrey Matuszak, they believed his chronic pain was ultimately a major contributing factor in his death, stating at the time, "We are not unmindful of the problems our son had in his battle against chronic pain, and his resulting use of drugs, both prescription and otherwise." "The dude was every kid in Oak Creek's hero," remembered Christian Kerhin, president and CEO of Ativo Technologies, who grew up in Oak Creek during the 80s. As a kid, he was just the epitome of machismo and sheer testosterone and presence. He would walk in, and you were just like, holy shit. "He was a great football player," said 620 WTMJ radio host Gene Mueller, who often chatted on air with Matuszak as the morning show co-host on 94.5 WKTI. "He was a beast. He was a crazy man. I didn't know if he was just getting in or just getting up, but that was life with the Tooz." Kerhin remembers a slightly gentler version of Matuszak, who would drop by the American Legion Post 434 in Oak Creek, the town hotspot, to grab a drink during his visits back home, though perhaps gentler isn't quite the right word. Any time he was there, he got into a fight, Kerhin said emphatically. It wasn't like he was looking for a fight. It got around Oak Creek so fast that he was in town, hanging at the Legion Post, that dudes would come in, and they would challenge the mountain. Every single time. And every single time he'd be like, "Listen, there's kids in the bar. If you want to take it outside, that's fine." "Dick, the manager, keep the kids inside. They don't need to see this." All I remember was them walking outside, and he'd walk back in less than a couple minutes later, and he'd be like, "Dick, just call the ambulance." I kind of felt bad for him in a sense. Though he wasn't particularly generous to his challengers. Kerhin, who lived right across the street from the Legion post on Shepherd Avenue, remembers he was extremely generous to the Oak Creek kids who would go from house to house eagerly spreading word of his arrival, gathering to see their local hero. They were allowed in the bar at the time. After those fights, Kerhin said Matuszak would talk to the kids and sign autographs. When it came to kids, I've never met anybody more kind, Kerhin said. He would push the mayor aside to sign a kid's autograph. He would push anybody aside to sign something. He was very much a public servant. He'd say, "Do this, do this, do this. Stay focused." He was almost, in a weird way, a Tony Robbins of sorts. Very inspirational when the kids were around. He was always funny, very self-effacing and very modest, Mueller said. He liked being a star, but he wasn't a star. When he walked in, everyone gasped. The Tooz just walked in. And he looked around like, knock it off. Dudes, continue. Carry on. That's the way he acted. The one thing I loved and respected about him was that he partied working class. He didn't party rock star. He partied like a working class guy who made it. Yeah, he became the Tooz, but look where he chose to drink. He drank at Bayview Bowl, at Nicelas, at Nearly Normal. He drank at a corner bar in Oak Creek, because that's the place where his dad drank. He had profound respect for his roots. I mean, at Nicelas, there he was with a shot and a beer. How Milwaukee? How southeastern Wisconsin, and how Wisconsin is that? An article written for Sports Illustrated's website in January 2005 named him one of the top 5 all-time bad boys of the NFL. Thanks so much for tuning into today's video. I post new videos every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. So be sure to like, subscribe, and click the bell to catch every episode where we dive into the Celebrity Afterlife.